Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cinder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits. So get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Amy Tovias with Youth and Family Services, YMCA.
Hi.
Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yes. Thank you for being here. I am so impressed with the programs of Youth and Family Services, and so I'm hoping you're going to tell us all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can start off by just sharing a little bit about what programs we have to offer.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, so first of all, we have St. George Youth Center. It is an after-school leadership program located in Isla Vista. We do open drop-in hours and then fun activities during the holidays too. So around the calendar, there might be fun things open to the public as well. We have Noah's Anchorage, which is our youth shelter for 12 to 17-year-olds. That's where we do drop-in services, emergency shelter, all sorts of different case management services for youth and families. And then we have another location that actually just opened up. It is called our Haley Street Navigation Center. And that houses two of our transitional aged youth programs, which are our street outreach component with a drop-in center that's open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we also have housing. So we're able to provide housing services, resources, and navigation for those young adults who are 18 to 24.
Wow, you guys do it all.
Yeah.
You know, clearly I'm so impressed, every one of these programs, it feels to me that it's been so well thought out, so strategic, and really focused on the needs of specific populations or age groups of young people.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that we've designed the programs are really to address the specific needs of different age brackets. You know, as you can imagine, the needs of a 12-year-old are much different than the needs of an 18-year-old. And so we wanted to design specific places where they could go and receive services that are tailored to their needs, but also that they can use as they age out of their youth and into young adulthood. So our programs are really well meshed, and we're able to serve them across that big gap in between that 17 and 18-year-old.
Yeah, you know, I've also been to your facilities, the different ones, at least two, if not three of them, and I'm so impressed with how, I don't know, they're fun and happy and joyful and clean, and if I was a teen, I'd want to be there.
Yes, they're nicer than my house, for sure. We're very, very fortunate to, in the last 4 years, have gone through complete transformations of our youth shelter, Noah's Anchorage, as well as our newest location, which just opened up last February. We also were able to have that whole location remodeled. So thank you to the YMCA Fund, and then we also had the Women's Fund, which helped us open up our newest location.
Oh, that's great. All righty, so let's just dive in here. Which one are we going to talk about first?
Let's talk about Noah's Anchorage.
That was going to be my first choice.
That's usually what people think of when they hear Youth and Family Services. That's probably our most well-known program that we have.
Yeah. Okay, so what age group and what can, with Noah's Anchorage, what can a young person expect when they walk through the door? You know, what kind of activities or whatever?
Yeah, great question. So we serve youth who are 12 to 17 years old at that location. What many don't know is that we also work with the entire family. So we are a diversion program. Our hope is to prevent youth from, or work with youth who are maybe in the beginning stages of becoming involved with child welfare or juvenile probation, or they just need a little bit of extra help. Maybe their families are in crisis or conflict. You know, they're struggling to talk about technology, you know, struggling in school. But really we want to make it as inviting as a space as possible, and a youth-focused and youth-centered program. So youth are able to come in anytime, day or night. We are open 24/7, 365 days out of the year.
24/7? That means you have staff there that whole
We have
time?
staff on site at all
Wow.
times who are ready and awake to answer calls.
Awake is good.
Yes, awake to answer calls in the middle of the night. If you call at 2 a.m., you'll reach a live staff who can help direct you and work with you on whatever support you might need. We're also able to provide drop-in services, which many people don't know about our youth shelter. So we're able to just allow youth to come in. Maybe they need a warm meal, maybe they need to take a shower, do some laundry, access some new clothing. We can also then work with them on some other intensive case management services. Maybe they want to apply for a job and don't know what the process is. And so we can sit down with them and help them out. Maybe they are struggling in school and need a quiet place to do some of their schoolwork because at home is a little hectic, or they don't have a home if their whole family is experiencing homelessness. And so we're really able to cater the services to what they need. And one of the exciting things that we're also able to offer is mental health counseling.
Oh gosh, that's important.
Yeah, so youth and families or legal guardians, if the youth are not participating, are able to access immediate crisis and clinical services. And all of our services are completely free of charge too.
Free of charge?
Yes.
All of that with all those staff and all those expenses, free of charge?
Yes, completely free of charge. We are entirely government funded, foundation grant funded, and donation funded too. So we're able to provide these services to the community without having to go through lengthy waiting lists or application processes. We don't need to check what medical insurance they have or anything like that before they're able to get in the door. They can actually come in without having provided any of that information, and then we'll gather that as we get to know them. So our services are kind of flip-flopped compared to a lot of other programs in the area.
So definitely low barrier.
Definitely low barrier, immediate, and completely free,
And wait, with this program, can youth actually spend the night there?
Yes, so that is our kind of highest level of service that we offer is short-term shelter. So we're able to provide that cool-off space, or if the family is experiencing homelessness, we'll have the youth come and stay with us. If they have run away from home and don't feel comfortable or safe to be at home, they can come and stay with us. And those shelter services are on an as-needed basis. So we're able to work with them for maybe just a night if all they want to do is, have a cool off for a night and then go back home. Or if they don't have somewhere to go, we're working with them for a longer time, and we actually can house them for up to 90 days.
Golly.
So 3 months they can stay with us completely free.
So I would imagine you have a big waiting list, huh?
So we actually do everything in our power to ensure that we always have at least one bed available for crisis situations. Yes, and we're constantly working with the families, working with other family members, trying to get them reunited with some sort of long-term stable placement. That's the core of our program at Noah's Anchorage. And so we recognize that we're temporary. And so even though we're that safe place, we want to help them get to that long-term placement, and then they can come and use our drop-in services still, and we can still provide them counseling and case management and just a safe place to hang out in the evenings if they don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah. And so this is really kind of a type of homeless service, but tailored for the youth, which I'm sure is somewhat different.
Yeah, absolutely. Youth homelessness looks so much different than adult homelessness. And so all of our programs are really catered to meet their needs. And that starts with access at a level that they choose to access. So we would never force certain services on them. They can come and pick and choose what works for them and what doesn't work for them. But generally what we find is that they start to realize, if I want housing, then I need a job, and then I need to go to school, and I need help budgeting, right? So it all kind of snowballs into one. But sometimes all they need is a place to stay, and if that's all they ask for, that's okay, and we'll provide that to them in whatever they'd like.
Wow, that is just All righty. What program are we going to talk about next?
Let's talk about the Haley Street Navigation Center.
Okay.
That is our newest location. So I had mentioned that over at that location we serve 18 to 24-year-olds who are experiencing homelessness and housing instability. This program is not necessarily new. This is one that used to operate out of our youth shelter, out of Noah's Anchorage.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of people didn't know about it. It was kind of in a secluded, in the back of the house area where we didn't really allow the youth to intermingle. And so it didn't have a safe and inviting space just for them. And so here is now where we house all of our transitional aged youth programs. And that is our drop-in center. And so we are able to offer, similar to Noah's Anchorage, we're able to have them come on in, eat a meal, take a shower, do some laundry, access some new clothing, and then work with a case manager on whatever it is that they might need to help them be able to obtain housing. And that's the second part of that program, is housing.
Okay.
So obviously young adults need a little bit of extra help when they're securing housing. If you think about where a 17-year-old is, right, and their ability once they cross that age gap. And there's a lot of things that 17-year-olds qualify for that then when they turn 18 no longer qualify for, or vice versa. Right? So our programs, again, really work to bridge that gap. So we're starting with them when they're hopefully 17 and getting them ready. We are able to help them get their birth certificate, their ID or driver's license, and then their social security card, so that way they can be document ready and can sign a lease when they turn 18. So and we have a few different partnerships for housing. Most well known is our partnership with Housing Authority, the City of Santa Barbara Housing Authority. And that is what was our first transitional aged youth program, My Home. And so a lot of people think of My Home and they know that that's our transitional aged youth program. It just now is one of our many options. We also have a partnership with the Turner Foundation, so we're able to house young adults. We fill 11 beds, a shared housing unit over on Mission Street, and so we're able to fill those, which is wonderful. And then we also have access to rental assistance throughout the county, and we're able to provide housing to young adults at their own pace and out where they might be in the community.
Wow. Well, over and over again, I just am so impressed with how well thought out and strategic these are. You folks are amazing. So let's talk about the Isla Vista one?
Yeah, St. George Youth Center. It was formerly Isla Vista Teen Center, so sometimes people think of it as that, but we received a generous donation from the St. George family years ago to do a full renovation over there. And so that's a wonderful program where youth who are from 6th grade to 12th grade can go and work on, leadership building. So if they're trying to create their resumes for their college applications, they have a space to do homework in the after-school area. And we are part of the Coalition for a Drug-Free Community in a heavily college populated town, right? So the whole idea is that we're able to provide safe and structured activities for youth and families, so additional support services to those families that are out there. And that's really on the prevention side. So let's work with them when they're young and provide a safe space for them. And then hopefully when they, come close to applying for colleges, they'll have that extra support.
That is so great. And so, of course, you rely on financial donations, I would imagine, to do all of this and at no charge to those that are using the services. Yeah,
absolutely. We're funded by a number of different grants and private donations, and so we always we're constantly applying for new grants. We're constantly looking for new supporters within the community, both financial contributions as well as landlords. So one of the things that we provide, like I had mentioned, is rental assistance. And so finding people that have units that they're willing to rent out, knowing that they'll have the Channel Islands YMCA backing the financial.
That's great.
So we're constantly looking for people to, house young adults because in this, in this economy and what we're experiencing with the housing market, it's really tough to find housing. So we have a long list of youth who are in need of housing, and we have the funding to support it. We just need to find the locations.
Gosh.
So that's another great way that people can contribute.
Yeah, yeah. And if someone is watching this and they want to contribute financially, you're a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yes, absolutely.
And their donation can be tax deductible, and they can go on your website probably and hit that donate now button.
Exactly, yes, anytime. We'd love to have the support.
And while they're on the website, I bet you have a volunteer area, so in case, I assume you use volunteers, they can find out how to be a volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely. Volunteers are crucial to being able to maintain operations. So we have volunteers at all of our different locations providing direct hands-on support, especially during special events throughout the year. It's always great to have additional support when we're putting on those community events. And then they're always welcome to go onto our website and fill out that volunteer application, and that goes directly to us so we can reach back out to them.
Oh, good. And then if training is needed, you guys do that as well.
As you can imagine, we're working with youth and young adults who are experiencing a pretty high level of trauma, of abandonment, of neglect. And so the trainings that go into even being a volunteer are very extensive compared to the more traditional YMCA branches. So we would have, versus like front desks and stuff like that, we are actually, our volunteers are hands-on working with the youth, doing cooking classes, doing group activities, helping out with our drop-in program at our Haley Street Navigation Center. So it's a very hands-on volunteer experience, and there's a pretty extensive training process that goes into it.
Oh, good. If I was going to volunteer, that would make me feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Golly, I wonder if Santa Barbara is unique with this fabulous program or group of programs as compared to other YMCAs in other communities. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. We are one of the very few YMCAs that specifically cater to homelessness. And it was in our strategic plan in the Channel Islands YMCA to address and meet the needs of the community. And we looked at the community and said, you know what, homelessness is a big challenge that we're facing in Santa Barbara, and youth homelessness is underserved. So youth homelessness, it looks different. We don't walk down the street and see a youth on the streets the same way or at the same capacity that we're seeing older adults. Instead, they still have connections with friends. They still have, family members that they haven't burnt bridges with. And so they're able to go and stay with them, get off the street, but still don't have a home and still don't have, maybe they're asked to leave at one day and then they can come back the next, or maybe they're able to stay one day, but they're not allowed to use the shower, so there's a lot of different things that it's just different than what adult homelessness looks like. And so we, having this experience and this knowledge and how to meet their needs and how to connect with youth specifically who are experiencing trauma, neglect, abandonment, and how that translates into their young adulthood, we decided, this is an important message that we continue to share with the community. And so the association, Channel Islands YMCA Association, is definitely behind us and is a huge support and asset to our programs.
And so if someone wants to get their son or daughter involved, or even a youth is watching and say, hey, I want to do that, how do they sign up or register?
Yeah, great question. So I mentioned in the beginning that we have our youth shelter, which is open 24/7, 365 days out of the year. Part of that is our crisis line, which is 1-866-HELP-TEEN, and anyone in the community can call that number and access a live person.
Wow.
Anytime. So if you have an inkling at 2 o'clock in the morning and need to call us, we're happy to answer any calls. And that's really where it starts. So that all of our staff that are at NOAA's Anchorage know about all of our different programs. So even if they're not accessing NOAA's Anchorage specifically, they can link them with the other programs or share a little bit more about the other programs. So that's one of the options, is just to pick up the phone and call. Another option is to just drop in. So we have NOAA's Anchorage is open 24/7. And then we have our Haley Street Navigation Center, which is open 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for open drop-in hours. So just dropping in or calling and scheduling an appointment. But we love to have, scheduled tours and just answer phone calls and share a little bit more about what we can offer based on the unique situation of each individual.
That is great. Well, we have a couple minutes left, and I'd love to hear a story you might want to share with us.
Okay, so a story. I am going to share a story about a youth who is now a young adult who originally came to NOAA's Anchorage. So she arrived after having pretty significant conflict with family. So she had been living with her family, and they had a lot of different challenges around, their socioeconomic status. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't know that there were services that were available to them. And so they kind of flew under the radar all this time. The youth never really made a fuss in school. And so they didn't really know, no one flagged it.
Yeah.
And so when she was 17, the family got into a pretty significant argument, and she was referred to NOAA's Anchorage. At the time, 17, nearing her 18th birthday, didn't have much independence, so she was very heavily reliant on family and parents, but parents didn't feel comfortable having her return home. So during that time, we worked with her on getting all those documents that I talked about. We were working with our transitional aged youth programs. Back then, they were still at our NOAA's Anchorage shelter, but now are at the Navigation Center on Haley Street. And we were able to get her set up with everything. She went out and got a job. She went out and got all of her documents, and she actually, on her 18th birthday, was able to go and move into her own apartment and signed her own lease, and continues to receive our case management with our transitional aged youth programs.
Wow, what a story. And I bet there are stories like that every day. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Amy, thank you so much for all of this fabulous work that you and your team at Youth and Family Services are doing.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on our show to share it with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.